from an undisclosed location in the Great Western Desert in the land of the free and autonomous Native American people. The 2024 presidential campaign it's time to return all US land back to their right's owners. This is the Ben Zion Podcast. Techno-communism will win.
I'm not going to get off on a tangent about the perils of emerging U.S. techno-fascism, in contrast to the existing U.S. fascism, which is not of the tech accelerationist kind that often described in the show. But it's almost there. It's getting there. And I'm not going to go off on that tangent because I'm going to go off on a completely different tangent. I'm going to read an article from SciTech Daily about edible electronics. Scientists have developed the first ever rechargeable battery made out of food. And I thought that this was an excellent story and an excellent development. But when this story broke in April, just about 3 weeks ago, I saw communists making fun of it. Banana, you're going to have a battery made out of a banana. It looks like a wang. Just making a bunch of dumb jokes about this, And of all the things to joke about, this planet is dying. Human beings get cancer at a higher rate than ever before. It's just a story in the news in the last 48 hours about people under 50 being diagnosed with various kinds of cancer. And it's not entirely clear why young people are getting cancer at this unusually high rate in recent years relative to years past. But this has been, in many ways, the story of the industrial era, is exposure to thousands and thousands of times throughout the course of a year, trace elements. They're not so trace elements anymore when you're exposed to them that much. And, I like to tell this joke. I don't know how funny it is. In the early 20th century, the beginning of modernity, human beings started to construct these things called rockets. And when the guys at JPL were building these rockets, some of the other scientists that they knew looked at them and said, we're not so sure you should be sending these big rockets up into space. We think there's a chance you might ignite the atmosphere, making planet Earth uninhabitable for all multicellular life forms. And they said, well, that is concerning, as you can imagine. So they did some more studies, and they realized, no, building these rockets at this time was not going to do that kind of damage. It's done a lot of damage, but not that kind of immediate damage. That's kind of what we're getting at here. So fast forward a few years, many things occurred at this time, but let's say a few years later, good folks at CERN want to build a particle accelerator, and some other smart, nerdy scientists say, are you sure you want to build this particle accelerator? There's a chance you might rip the fabric of space-time, something along those lines. And they say, we don't want to do that. We like living in this dimension. So they did some little more careful study, and they realized that they're not going to rip the fabric of space-time. And this is a recurring theme, and luckily we haven't done these catastrophic things, except we have, right? This capitalism's climate apocalypse is killing our planet. Our only chance to reverse that is to have a communist revolution and end these kind of polluting sectors, particularly petroleum sector and livestock systems. If you are not supporting plant-based solutions, and you are not supporting more or less the total abolition of all petroleum products, then you, my friend, are on the wrong side of history, whether you call yourself a communist or not. And just as these people, friends of mine, were making fun of this battery a few weeks ago, food battery, that's a funny juxtaposition. Funny juxtaposition is a good source for comedy. But kind of missing the point, which is if human beings had this standard of not exposing ourselves or the environment to anything more toxic and say a little bit of baking soda and lemon, then the planet would not be dying. It is precisely our bad use of industrial products, and even applying these industrial products to ourselves, our food and drink, that is killed ourselves to a high degree, inexplicable cancer, and killed the planet to a high degree. Ocean's acidification is off the charts. The temperature of the ocean is off the charts. You may be breathing your last gas of oxygen in slow motion, my friend. The planet may already be dead. But there is a chance that we can reverse that. Combining the power of emerging technology and the power of a people's revolution. That is why I'm a techno-communist. That is why I'm running for president of the United States, to see that the United States will cease to exist. The United States is the number one polluter, and my first act as president of the United States will be to sign an executive order dismantling the United States and placing it under the responsible stewardship of Native American elders, organizations already in existence that would have to be built out further to handle those duties. But what wouldn't be happening is $1 trillion wouldn't be stolen from the American people and spent on weapons of mass destruction and all kinds of weapons of war being used to kill the planet. The United States is the number one polluter, but the situation is even more serious than that with respect to the military-industrial complex, because the United States enforces, at the threat of violence, a system wherein no one else is allowed to. All the super polluters are protected. No one is allowed to be anything but a booster of super polluters on the world stage. And if you try to do something like that, they'll kill you. That's not hyperbole. There was a man named Muammar Gaddafi who was not a perfect person. None of us are. But what he did was bring an awful lot of social programs to his country. And what he wanted to do was create an African Union to continue to do that, and maybe build a more humane and sustainable economic system on that continent. And the United States fascists killed him for precisely that reason. A black fascist named Barack Obama was one of the people, not the only person by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the people responsible for that. One of the worst people in recent history, in my view, Barack Obama, because I voted for him the first time. He appeared to be somebody who might prove to be some kind of socialist. He wasn't. He was a warmonger, a capitalist through and through. And, the United States has moved beyond ordinary capitalism. That's why this integration of this military-industrial complex that is killing the planet is, this is a thoroughgoing fascist country at the present time. But back to our battery. This is a story from the Italian Institute of Technology. A team of researchers at the Italian Institute of Technology have created a totally edible and rechargeable battery, starting from materials that are normally consumed as part of our daily diet. The proof of concept battery has been described in a paper published in the Advanced Materials Journal. The possible applications are in health diagnostics, food quality monitoring, and edible soft robotics. The world's first rechargeable edible battery has been created. This innovative technology can be used for the things that were already mentioned. Researchers at the Italian Institute have made a breakthrough developing a fully edible battery. The battery cell, which is constructed using materials commonly consumed in our daily diets, has been documented in the recently published paper in the journal Advanced Materials. This innovative technology has the potential to be used in health diagnostics, etc. The research was conducted by a team led by Mario Carioni of IAT. Carioni has been dedicated to investigating electronic properties of food and its byproducts with the goal of combining them with edible materials to create cutting-edge edible electronic materials. In recognition of his work, Carioni was awarded a €2 million ERC Consolidator grant for the ELFO project in 2019, which focuses on advancing the field of edible electronics. And you probably think that this word edible electronics is an oxymoron, but I would say that that's because you have been conditioned to accept the kinds of technology that are poisoning you and the planet. It's not a real great thing. So maybe you should adjust your thinking. Edible electronics is a recently growing field that could have a great impact on the diagnosis and treatment of gastrointestinal tract diseases, as well as on the food quality monitoring. One of the most interesting challenges in the development of future edible electronic systems is to realize edible power sources. Yeah, you can't be eating lithium batteries. If your kid eats a lithium battery, they're going to be in bad shape. They could become very ill or die. Maybe they'll get lucky and nothing bad will happen, but you'll have to probably pump their stomach. So that's not a great thing. Now, this is describing this technology in the context of new sectors, effectively, new-ish sectors or wholly new sectors. But this should be the standard, is my feeling. And we have done this thing where we're killing the planet, and we're not taking any steps really to stop doing that. And things of this kind would be certainly a step in that direction. Um, well, I'm going to change change gears a little bit because the rest of this is a little bit more about the specifications of this battery and more particularly uses in the sectors that were already described. But don't make fun of stuff that is less fascist and less damaging than the things that currently exist. Even communists will do that. Everyone argues from authority or variations of that logical fallacy to a high degree. So that's why you could say that there's so little revolutionary potential in a place like the United States because there's things like Project Mockingbird or things like it to trick people at every step into accepting these bad things, and the natural tendencies of human beings are more or less natural tendencies of human beings. That's a little bit of a silly idea, but are exploited by these fascist organs like three-letter agency and State Department manipulation. Falls under the umbrella of what's known as Project Mockingbird, but it's a huge amount of manipulation. Much of social media is heavily influenced or wholly dictated in many areas by precisely this kind of manipulation. Elon Musk claims the Google co-founder is building a digital god. This is from The Byte on futurism.com, and this is Noor Al-Sabi. I think I might have read something of theirs before. Saying the quiet part out loud in a bombastic interview with none other than Tucker Carlson, a fascist, Elon Musk, a fascist, made a bold claim about Google co-founder Larry Page, also a fascist. If you run a company that becomes a large company by integrating itself into huge government contracts, military contracts, yes, you're a fascist. It doesn't matter that Larry Page and Elon Musk don't think that they're fascists. They are fascists. What I've said about the military-industrial complex, if you don't see it that way, you need to do a little more reading, my friend. During a newly released Fox News interview, Musk alleged that back when he and his Google co-founder and CEO used to be close friends, he'd stay at the Texter's Palo Alto house. They'd get into lengthy discussions about AI safety, and that was when Page told him what led him to his own co-founding of OpenAI. OpenAI, of course, is a company that has released ChatGPT and some other pretty substantial products in this machine learning area. It started as something more like an open source approach to this prospect of more robust machine learning. But of course, anything that Elon Musk and Peter Thiel have their evil little fingers in is not going to actually ever be open source. And even though those people are ostensibly not involved with the OpenAI organization anymore, other techno-fascists, not unlike them, are involved. And so it's a for-profit operation that's heavily integrated into the Microsoft organization now. In characteristic confused puppy fashion, Carlson asked Musk what Page had said about AI. He seemed to be, he wanted some sort of digital superintelligence, basically a digital god, if you will, as soon as possible. The now Twitter CEO responded. And this was just a few years after Google had hired its CTO, Ray Kurzweil. It's not actually his title, but he's effective CTO. As some of these duties of his have diminished in recent years, but he still has a lot of influence in this organization. And Ray Kurzweil is a quintessential tech accelerationist, although he's a capitalist, so I don't consider him to be the best of tech accelerationists. But he was for any organization that's going to come under the influence of such a prominent and quite articulate tech accelerationist is probably not going to shy away from the idea of artificial superintelligence. And the Google organization has, in recent days, started to roll out a lot more of these machine learning influenced products that it apparently has been holding back for uncertainty about its effect on the Alphabet, its parent corporation, their market concerns, or other considerations along these lines. And but Elon Musk kind of jumped on the opportunity to create a competing organization, which has become a pretty substantial organization, even in his ostensible absence. Not inclined to think that any of these people are real, breathing human beings in the strictest sense of the word. They're all some kind of techno-fascist, as I mentioned, even the ones who don't think they're a techno-fascist. And we have no way of knowing what they're thinking. All we can see is that they're operating as a techno-fascist would operate. And people who are operating in this way, who knows if anything that they're saying is really true? Who knows if Peter Thiel is really divested from OpenAI or has no control there. It seems a little unlikely that he's completely out of the loop. It's more that they wanted some friendlier faces to be the ones in control. And there was a big kerfuffle with Elon Musk leaving OpenAI over differences of this kind about how about the approach to this artificial singleton and so forth. But that's kind of all bullshit too, because all of these people are fascists. What do they care? What do they care if there's a fascist artificial singleton? They obviously would want that. They're just saying what people might want to hear in that situation. After recounting that outlandish anecdote, the serial business buyer went on to tout TruthGPT, the maximum truth-seeking chatbot he's been quietly building in the aftermath of OpenAI's viral success. In spite of co-founding it, Musk left after a few years due to differences in vision. As much as we hate to hand it to him, this page claim certainly does seem plausible, especially given that, as Musk added, by the time Google acquired the DeepMind AI research firm, at about 3/4 of all the AI talent in the world, along with a lot of money and more computers than anyone else. It's not really, I don't know that that's the most accurate measure today, but it's still a big number. There's an awful lot of other countries that have computer scientists doing work. They're just not public-facing fascists and goofballs like Elon Musk. In the meantime, join us in laughing the name TruthGPT, which sounds more like Donald Trump chatbot than something meant to counter irresponsible AI. There you go. Musk has become even more flamboyant and reckless in recent years. The whole acquisition of Twitter at 3 to 4 times what it was valued, and handling of that acquisition, at best, shows a reckless person. But again, it shows a person who is really not doing any of the things that he says he's doing, because what has happened in that chaos is what happened with Facebook. The operation has been buttoned down so that ordinary people have less of a voice, and the capitalist bobbleheads who already had an outsized voice on Twitter have an even larger voice, and it's even more integrated with the interests of the State Department. That's what this person's legacy will always be, because he became a mega millionaire and billionaire by being a greenwashing personality, propping up sectors which should be illegal, like petroleum products should effectively all be illegal. But what he has done is created a thinly plausible a rationalization for people not standing up against those products that are killing the planet, by creating other products that are also very damaging to the earth, but saying that this is good because now we're green. It's not green. Tesla is not green. It's just as dirty as any of these others. That's the end of the show. I'll see you next time.